It's a chapter in your story. It's a comma, not a period, I like to say. It's just part of the bigger thing. But you have to have that belief, because as long as you have that belief, you're going to be okay.
Arjun, tell me a little bit about yourself, man. What are you creating in the world?
Well, now it's about impact. I mean, for the longest time, it was just doing transactional service. You know, being in mortgage and in real estate, you're trying to do deals, you're trying to hustle, you're trying to make money and help as many clients. I mean, you're doing it sincerely. But there comes a certain point when that's like a hamster wheel and you want to get off of it, right? Or it's a nasty treadmill. So I wanted to build something that's going to have more of a broader impact, more lasting impression, and that was community for entrepreneurs, like giving them a space where they feel seen, where they can evolve, where they can grow, where they can create breakthroughs. So I started the LFG Society, which is what our community is called, and it stands for exactly what you think it stands for. I saw your face like that. It stands for exactly what you think it stands for.
Okay, LFG.
And
all right.
you know, I mean, it's probably given me like a whole new sense of purpose and fuel, and it's energized me in so many amazing ways. But that's what my mission is now. That's really where I'm focused.
To help other entrepreneurs.
So
you've been in mortgage and lending for 18 years?
24 years.
24 years.
Yeah,
okay.
24 years now.
So 24 years, almost 25 years in the game. What has been the number one learning curve that you've really had to overcome?
I'd say it's that people are your hack. Like the more people you know, the more doors you open by people. Like that's your best pathway to more success. Relationships, right? Like
so you wouldn't call it consider strategy to be number one? Like when you think about mortgage, when you think about lending, you think about real estate.
Yeah.
How you circumvented the 2008 crisis.
Yeah.
2020 pandemic. So you've been part of those.
Oh yeah.
And was it strategy that played a significant role, or that kept you in the game, or was it the people that kept you in the game?
That's a little bit of a and I appreciate you broadening that a bit, because one thing that's been helpful has been people, without a doubt. In terms of how I've navigated through this industry, it was absolutely being strategic and developing and learning and having a high sense of AQ, adaptability quotient. Like you got to be quick on your feet. Before. AQ, like it's a trait. I heard it on a podcast of one of the single biggest common denominators amongst billionaires. And it was that they had a high degree of AQ. They call it the cousin to EQ and IQ.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
But it's the ability to adapt when shit's hitting the fan or things are not going your way, rather than continuing stubbornly to stick with the same strategy and say, no, we're going to make it work. And then you commit to it 2 years too long, 5 years too long. Even relationships, right? People have done it. Whether it's people you dated, you're like, we should have just ended that so much sooner. But human beings sometimes don't want to give up. And as a result, if it's an entrepreneur, it can be a curse as well. So being able to recognize that this isn't working and we need to pivot or abandon ship and adapt has been probably the biggest thing that's helped me strategically navigate through all these changes. Because effectively all it is disruption. And disruption is not a matter of if it happens, but when. It's going to keep happening. We had 08 happen.
But isn't there a sense of focus? Like there has to be a sense of focus inside of the business to operate. Like you have to, isn't there a quotient of entrepreneurs are constantly on to the next wave? That is opening the door for failure. But if you focus and you have that clarity, is that important as well? Or does that go out the window with AQ?
No, I agree with you on that. I think AQ is something that comes after, right? You want to be focused on one thing and commit, because we all get, as entrepreneurs, we get shiny object syndrome. And I'm guilty of this all the time, right? Well, let's sign up for this. Let's work on that. Or let's open a studio. And we want to do everything because we're so ambitious.
Yeah.
And it's with the best of intentions. But for whatever reason, you know, and it's just physics, you know, and human nature, like you can't do that. It's impossible. You'll only finish 5% of 10 different things and won't feel like you're getting anywhere. And so you're being really busy, but not actually productive. That was another bit of advice that I got from some, you know, really successful entrepreneurs. One in particular who's, you know, I sat down with him when I was a little bit of a crossroads a few years ago with all these projects I'm working on. He said, just pick one thing and focus. I said, does that mean I quit all the other things? He said, no. Just move them off to the side, do the bare minimum, but really go in and focus. Now, to bring it full circle to your question, you have one thing that you're focused on and you're really diving in as an entrepreneur, as a business creator and building, you might still recognize somewhere along the path of focusing on that one avenue that you need to adapt. Or maybe you don't. Maybe you just keep going. But you're not going to know until you actually focus on it. And then you can actually
Is it
make
the result that you're focusing on, or is it the strategy that you're focused on?
Strategy for sure.
The strategy, not the result.
Yeah, never focused on the result. That's like the same thing I always would tell athletes. Like we're not goal-oriented or in the sense of like outcome-oriented. We don't attach ourselves to outcomes or a specific goal. Right now, we want to be a little bit broader in terms of a trajectory. And strategy for me is like wider. There's like, if we're moving towards the right strategy and implementing it and executing on it, all the good things will happen along the way.
I was listening to a book this morning. this book, Atomic Habits,
Yes.
James Clear.
Yeah.
And he mentioned you don't fall, I forget the actual quote, but it's about falling down to the systems of your habits.
That's right.
Like that's where you land on, is on your habits. And what I'm hearing what you're saying is not to focus on the goal, focus on the habits. And in business, the habits is your strategy. That's
it.
at least what I'm understanding.
That's right. I think what the quote you were talking about was something about, we either rise to the occasion or we default to our systems or levels of training.
Yes.
Right? I said that as a martial artist, right? You'll either rise to the occasion or you'll default to your level of training. And the wider that gap is, the more catastrophic the fall is. If you're not training much and then you got to rise to some big occasion and you trip and fall or it doesn't work out, this is a big fall. But if your training is up, you're constantly focused on these things, the habits, the focus, the execution as an entrepreneur, and then you get these moments where you need to rise and the lights are bright and you got to shine. If you fall short, sometimes you don't even feel it, right? Because this gap is so much more narrow.
25 years in the game now, what is different with today's strategy in business compared to the strategy that you had maybe 15 or even 20 years ago?
It's because it's all digital now. Everything is on digital, right? Like this is the space that you operate in. You're a digital marketer. You teach people how to leverage all these digital resources to create more business, create more income, grow and scale their brands. I think that's the single biggest differentiator right now that's present in today's market versus any of the other market cycles. It's the ability to reach more people at scale digitally, to get a message across, to build a brand, something that can outlast, something that can rise above all the other noise and cut through because it's crowded, no doubt. So you need to be doing things on a good level and not just adding to the noise, but being different and unique. But I would say without a doubt, it's the digital space that's different now because it didn't even exist when I first got into the business. I mean, we were still writing applications with pen and paper, right? Like it was that bad or different. I shouldn't call it bad. It was all we knew. But things have evolved and they became more digital, right? Like we had a fax machine in our office. You probably wouldn't even know what that is, man. You're too young, but we had fax machines in our office. That's how old it was. But now, with everything being digital, it's just different.
You were doing applications on fax machines?
We were. We would fax things in.
You would do paper, and then you would fax the application in to get them the loan?
That's right. Or they would fax us documents. Like if I needed something from you as a client, I'd be like, you know what? Send me a copy of your driver's license. I need your bank statements, and you can fax them into me. Like you would fax them into our office.
Does the velocity of deals are they faster now with technology compared to 20 years ago?
Without a doubt. Yeah. Technology's helped not only in the ability to create business, but how the business is actually being done, right? So most evolved mortgage banks and operations and real estate operations, any business for that matter, but speaking of my industry, the implementation and use of technology and digital technology, more importantly, and all those resources are speeding up this business at light speed. And then when you factor in AI, it's actually eliminating certain roles, cutting a lot of red tape, a lot of kind of clunkiness to the entire process. So transactions are getting done faster, much easier. There's so much less friction. And ultimately, there's more margin in the deal because there's less people involved.
Interesting. So are roles getting replaced with artificial intelligence, technology today, even in your industry?
100% they are.
Like what?
Yeah.
Like what role?
Underwriting is being replaced at some levels. Actual underwriting, and with the amount of case studies there are, with each mortgage application being different and unique on its own, it's also a piece of study for the language model. And with each one that's being studied, the AI is getting smarter and smarter in our space to be able to actually underwrite and replace a human underwriter. There's a certain degree of processing that's probably going to be ultimately replaced. I mean, you've got writers or people within a marketing unit that have been completely replaced. I think CMOs are definitely under threat because you can replace so much of what would be handled by a marketing division or a chief marketing officer through all the digital tools that there are right now.
Do you think that the loan officer could be replaced with AI?
It's already happened. There's a particular company, one in which we had talked to very closely to look at some opportunities. And, they're in New York and they are literally using AI so that a lender, like someone in my role, doesn't even have to talk to the consumer. The entire process from start to finish is digital. And someone's there kind of behind the scenes to monitor it. If you wanted that human element, but you don't have to have it. You can literally opt out of a human interaction from start to finish when it comes to actually getting a mortgage. So the loan officer is being eliminated.
Is that a threat for you or an advantage?
I think it's an advantage because if you are a lender, just like everyone, right? When they say, is AI going to take my job? No, but if you embrace AI, you're good, right?
Yeah.
Like you're going to put yourself in a place of advantage. And it's the same for us. The lender or the mortgage advisor that's evolving and stepping up their game and utilizing AI and leveraging all the technology that's out there is going to replace the person that's, sitting in an office behind a desk, still using a fax machine says all this AI is like nonsense, like we don't need it, or they're just intimidated by it. I think a lot of people's reluctance to embrace it is based around fear and just the unknown. But we're still, I mean, I'm sure you can attest this too, right? Or you talk to so many entrepreneurs in this space. We're still so early in this whole game. Like no one's really an expert. Everyone's trying new things. We don't know what's going to be around, but that's the opportunity, and that's what makes it exciting right now.
Yeah. It's so advanced today to think about it.
Yeah.
And then 3 years from now, we're going to be like, oh, that was baby, man. That was baby stuff, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm in San Francisco, and that's, I mean, there's 350 physical AI companies in San Francisco where I live and work. It's an exciting but crazy time. And a lot of people, I wasn't there during the .com rush, but a lot of people who were there, they liken it to the .com era. They say, look, you had all these companies popping up, dorm room CEOs, kids running companies that were based on, these kind of crazy valuations with no real formulas behind them or anything backing, but it was just a concept or an idea, and therefore it was worth X, and people will get excited about it, and they'd buy into it. And there's a degree of that with AI as well. But if we look back and we try and compare these two eras, 70% of the .com rush got washed out, but the 30% that stuck, it changed the world.
Yeah.
And I think the exact same thing is going to happen with AI. The 30% that stick, I mean, OpenAI is there. They took out some of the most office space that was vacant because San Francisco had a real serious issue with office vacancy after COVID. And companies like OpenAI and Anthropic have come in and signed huge leases. I mean, and they can't even,
Is it on data centers or is it the actual working offices?
Both.
Okay.
Data centers are taking up a lot of space. It's a great question because then a lot of people are like, well, if it's data centers, there's not a lot of people coming back.
Right.
And that's fine. I mean, it's still utilizing the space, but they also have lots of people. They have a lot of boots on the ground. But the point I'm making is that you've got two of the biggest ones, Anthropic and OpenAI, that are there. And these ones are going to stick it out. I mean, it's just a matter of time before they do their next, insane thing or what's going to disrupt the market even more. But they're, of course, going to make it and change the world forever. And there'll be a lot of other companies that do the same. Seeing
the .com boom and seeing AI in your lifetime here, is there similarities in the journey? Like, are you seeing, because you were there to see, because you said 25 years ago, you're talking about early 2000s, you were there to see people go in and really start these .com businesses, and some people get washed away. Is there similarities taking place today?
There is, yeah. And I wasn't living there to correct it at that time. I was in the industry. I was living in Nevada at the time, but I wasn't there during, a lot of that actual .com rise. But there are absolutely similarities.
Just to clarify, I'm speaking on in your industry. In your industry. So mortgages, loans, lending. I'm assuming that technology advanced it with the internet.
Yes.
And
okay.
then so that with AI, are there similarities in the journey today?
Without a doubt, yeah. How technology kind of came in and digitized the mortgage process early, like even through the analog years of my career.
Yeah.
I don't want to speak for the entire industry because I've worked for 25 years in this career, but it's been around forever.
Yeah.
So I'm just a microcosm of it. But in my experience, my frames of reference of the 25 years, the digitization of it, in the early going, definitely got it out of the Stone Ages, right? There was no more fax machines. Things were basically web connected, right? So that we didn't need to have all this clunkiness or disjointments in the process. Things got really, really closely knit. Now with AI, in this iteration of what's going on now, it's moving at an even faster pace. And we're like, in our industry, we're not even scratching the surface yet. It's still so new because every company's trying to figure out how to create an edge in terms of marketing, in terms of operations, in terms of execution, in terms of how they're reaching the market through AI. And nobody has anything figured out in my space yet. Nobody does, right? We're still very new to it, but the companies that are getting out ahead and trying things and dabbling with it, they're making some inroads. They're able to pivot if things aren't working. And that's what makes it really exciting right now.
I'm going to say that around that early 2000s, when the internet started to come, there were people who were just, I'm completely against it. I don't believe in it. It's going to disappear. But you adapted. Now, this was the beginning of your career, which is understandable. But now with AI, are you adapting to it, even though with AQ? Or are you completely like, hey, look, I'm trying to figure out how to offer it to someone else? Or are you the one in the forefront with artificial intelligence to implement AI inside of your business?
No, I'm trying to be at the forefront. It's moving so fast and there's so many different areas of fulfillment that me as a leader with my group and my team and the sales efforts, and then also with all the media presence I get pulled in a lot of different directions, but I'm absolutely trying to lead. I'm trying to learn as quickly as I can. And I also am recognizing that, again, much like we talked about earlier here in our discussion with shiny object syndrome, there's a lot of things I could get distracted by, but if I just pick 2 or 3 things and really focus on them within AI and how these things could help my process, my systems, my entire business model get better and get stronger, and then lead on it and implement and adapt if we need to. But it's really just about trying things and executing on them rather than overthinking it, because everyone is throwing stuff at the wall right now, and that's okay. We're going to see what sticks, but you got to be throwing stuff and trying it out and just getting getting dirty with it, because sitting back and waiting to wait and see what actually lasts or what actually sticks around is going to be too late.
Would you consider yourself to be a visionary?
I wouldn't consider myself to be a visionary, no. What I'd rather be considered as is a little bit more of an executor. And that's something I really pride myself on getting better at all the time. I wasn't always the best at it, but executing is kind of the difference. Like the execution and just not being outworked.
What do you see 5 to 10 years from now then? Like what's going to be different 5 to 10 years from now?
In our industry.
Yes, all of this is in industry.
Yeah.
Specifically in your industry, like what are you going to see? What's in your mind today that you're like, man, you haven't even shared yet about what you think is going to happen 5, 10 years from now?
I think 80% of our industries, and I'm including real estate as well, real estate and mortgage, won't have a human being attached to it, in terms of that actual system or that actual process. It just, or the logistics, I should say, of those business models. They won't. The 20% that involve a human will be such a high level advisor, someone that's irreplaceable, someone that's that good, right? They can stand the test because they're implementing technology, artificial intelligence, whatever else may be coming that we don't know 5 to 10 years from now at the speed at which things are happening. Who knows what that could be? But those people are so well armed and equipped with all of these digital assets and all of these tools, all of these resources and language models that they are just out executing and able to compete. And then there will be some models, the other 80%, that are just purely digital. There's no human behind it, whether it's robot controlled or it's just controlled through some type of a virtual process or system. That's where I see the industries going. I think, it's kind of like I've said this in a lot of keynotes for anyone who's a Game of Thrones fan, right? I don't know if you watched the show. All right, you didn't, but I'll give the reference anyways. There's this big wall that's in the Game of Thrones, and it's very symbolic. And the wall separates kind of like what's evil or what's coming for civilization and the civilized folks on this side. And one guy went over the wall and saw what was coming and said, this isn't good. Came back to tell everyone. Everyone thought he was crazy. And eventually, they could have been all wiped out, and that ended up being a big battle, and I won't get into the show.
Did he save them?
He saved them. Well, yeah, but it came at a major cost. The wall broke down, all the dead people, it was called, this sounds nuts because you haven't seen the show, but any of your audience that knows, they'll be nodding their heads and listening to this and saying, I know what he's talking about. The dead came over the wall and then fought. The living eventually beat the dead, but not before a major, major battle, and a lot of people died. It's very similar now. Like, if you are paying attention and you see what's coming, and I don't tout myself to be any sort of visionary. I'm just saying, based on what I see, the conversations I'm having, the high-level mortgage and marketing executives that are around the country, the C-level people that I talk to, they see it. They know what's coming. They know that days are numbered for, if you had a staff of 100 people, that it's likely going to get slimmed down to 10 or 15 because you just won't need the other 85. That's the reality of what we're dealing with.
Do you intend to stay in the game?
I intend to stay in the game. I've been in this now. I'm pivoting and doing different things within the system, but staying under this umbrella of real estate and being a good steward of this industry is really important to me. I came into it, which at least for me, in my history with it, at a very analog-like stage.
Yeah.
And it's evolved a lot in the 24 years that I've been involved in it. And it's been exciting. There's been lots of ups and downs, and it's been a wild roller coaster. But I've dedicated so much of my professional career within this space. Yeah. And yes, it's evolved in other areas in the way of digital marketing and a personal brand and using it to really fuel things and creating other income streams, being a big advocate for the industry, speaking, doing so much more, like reaching audiences like this and interacting and collaborating. So I see myself staying within it and continuing to serve it because it's important to me that whenever my time in this industry or space is done, that my small microcosm of a contribution to it has left it better off than when I came into it.
Is the personal branding, speaking, podcasting, educating people, building communities, is that all part of a strategy to stay in the game and still be relevant in a world that you believe that is not going to have people necessarily needed in the industry?
You hit the nail on the head, Andy. It's all about relevance. That's why I do it. Because just sitting behind a desk and doing mortgages, even in the digital era, right? Using my laptop, connecting with people, maybe a little bit of social media or an online presence, an optimized website that helps me generate leads. That's not enough. You need to have an actual brand that needs to be able to cut through. It needs to be different. I'm different to my core. I'm an Android user, so I'm the green bubble that shows up on your phone. I'm already different. Sometimes that pisses people off, but I pride myself on being different. I was a BlackBerry user up until just a few years ago.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And apparently they might be making some kind of a comeback, but you didn't hear it from me. I just loved having the keyboard because it kept me efficient. And it always was a great conversation starter. When I would be filming content and I'd have my BlackBerry in the videos, people were like, dude, what is that? But it would get people kind of hooked in. Like, why is this guy, how is this guy wearing a suit? And he's, the year's 2020 or whatever it was, and he's got a BlackBerry. At any rate, I plan, like I said, being a good steward of this industry and contributing back to it is something that's really, really important to me. But relevance is what has given me fuel and purpose, and it actually saved my career. Like 17-ish years ago, 16, 17 years ago, I was ready to quit the industry because I'd become so commoditized. I was literally only worth the interest rates that my bank gave me to be able to offer the marketplace and whatever sort of cool swag I showed up with to events, whether it was food that I brought or I brought cool notepads and pens. You know, it was like cheesy 1980s marketing. And I was able to forge relationships, but it wasn't enough. And I'm in San Francisco where I am dominated by large banks, institutional lenders, the Chases, the Wells Fargos. So I was ready to quit the industry on a particular day, and my performance coach that I'd worked with since the market crash of '08, we got connected in 2009. He just asked me a question. He said, look, man, I know you're good at what you do and you know you're good at what you do, but does anybody else? And the answer was no. Nobody knew. He said, if I Google you, what are we going to find? Outside of my martial arts career, there was nothing you could find on me. He says, I don't know what the answer is, but you got to change that. So I went all in on social. I went all in on taking control of a personal brand.
2009.
No, that 2009 is when I connected with him. That's how long I've been working with him.
When you start
this
social?
conversation that I had with him was about 7 years ago. Okay. So 7 years ago is when I went all in on social. Almost 8. That's when I went all in on it, and and started forging a brand, creating content. I went to a Gary Vee event and with my brother and everything kind of like
people like
switched.
They know who you are.
Well, they do. And that was the thing I had control over. You said relevance. I can't control who's going to work with me. You can't either. We don't have 100% control over who's going to transact or do business with us, but I do have 100% control over how visible I am.
Yeah.
And with that visibility, if there's competence behind it and actual substance, I can create real relevance in the marketplace. And that to me has been the goal. That's the entire focus because I have full control over that. And the more audiences I get in front of, the more opportunities I get to speak and educate and help move this industry along further, the more lessons that I like to teach, the more financial literacy that I want to empower people through my own content or collaborating with people like you that are really good marketers, then I'm moving in that way of being more relevant.
Is there limitations on your personal brand because of the industry that you're in, finances?
They're not. I work for an amazing bank where our CEO lets us be us. There's no compliance department, there's no handcuffs or red tape. It's like you be you. As long as you don't embarrass the company, do it. Be an individual. Be yourself, be authentic, put it out there. And if it's bringing you business and helping you grow, then we're all behind it. I would not have that opportunity because I've been approached many times and even told by people, you'd probably be more successful, Arjun, if you worked for a big bank. You'd probably, do better if you worked for Wells Fargo or Chase. And I always say, no, there's absolutely no way because I wouldn't be allowed to do any of this. And to me, this is the direction I have to move in, not that. Not just sitting behind a desk wearing a suit that doesn't fit me and being able to offer really good interest rates. That's a one-trick pony. I was already there in a way. I'd already been commoditized to one thing and I don't want to do that. So being more than just what I do for a living, being able to have my personality come out, my lifestyle, the things that I'm interested in, the tribes that I want to connect with, all by way of taking control of a personal brand and throwing gas on it and exploding it. That to me was far, far more appealing.
So if you take a moment and pause and we look at whether it's business, whether it's finances, whether it's personally, what's the biggest challenge that you're looking to overcome right now? And I'll share vulnerably right now. For me, in my business, I'm looking for a COO to help me run my operations today. My business has scaled. So that's been on my mind for the last 2-3 months. What is yours? What is something that's top of mind to you that's like, man, I got an issue that I'm trying to solve?
I don't even have to say anything, man. You took the answer for me. It's that.
What, similar?
It's the exact same challenge. There comes a certain point, and you obviously can speak to this because you just said it, that it was a pain point for you. There comes a certain point with everything you're doing and now you're scaling that you need somebody to be running the actual business for you while you continue to build it on the outside. And for years, I've been playing both roles, trying to build, which is, I use the restaurant equation. I'm, standing out in front of the restaurant, getting people to come in. I'm wearing a nice suit. It's my personality. I'm shaking hands. Come on in. Come sit in. We got white tablecloths. They come in and sit there. But then I get dragged in from time to time and I go into the kitchen and it's chaos, right? And then I'm having to fix that.
Yeah.
But then I still got to go outside and get people to fill this restaurant. And you can't do both. At a certain point, you just kind of get ready to either pull out your hair or you say, I got to get someone to run this for me. And making that adjustment, pulling the trigger on that. I don't know if you can relate to this, but I'll tell you vulnerably, like it's a big thing that you got to trust yourself with, right? Because it's an investment and it could go bad, and then then you wonder, is this going to set me back? But finding that key person or persons, like multiple people, to start really running things and trusting them, trusting myself, letting go a little bit, and saying, look, if they can do it 80% as good as I like the thing I do it, that's good enough. Like I'm never going to get 100. But 80%, that would get me out of this and I could continue to build and really scale. So that's my single biggest challenge that I'm facing. Now, I'm working on it actively every day. And I'm hopeful that we're about to turn the corner with some key people. But, you know, you never know.
What does education look like for you in that journey to release, to get yourself out of the position?
In terms of like, how will I actually execute on this?
Yeah, or what are you doing to educate yourself to get to that next level?
A lot of it is what I told you earlier, you know, like people being the biggest. I'm trying to talk to as many entrepreneurs, particularly within my industry, because then we can really relate, who have experienced this and who have gone out, made it to the other side. They did make that hire. What did you go through? You know, anyone who's paid the dummy tax ahead of me, I want to learn from them, man, because I don't want to pay it. I paid the dummy tax every day with stuff. I screw things up all the time. This, I want to try and limit as best as I possibly can to minimize any sort of damage financially or physically or from a matter of time investment. And if I can learn from other entrepreneurs, then it's going to help me out. So that, I would say, without a doubt, Andy, is how I'm trying to really educate myself. It's by leveraging people and their experiences and their mistakes or where they've been successful with it. And, you know, as Tony Robbins says, success leaves clues. If you've done it well, why would I go try and figure it out or Google the shit out of it on my own, man? I'm going to talk to you. You already did it, you know? So tell me, Andy, how did you do it? What should I do? Learning from others, without a doubt.
Top book that comes to mind?
My favorite book, and it's not even a business book, but I think it's one of the most widely read books ever, was The Alchemist. Yeah, and I tried, it's been a couple years because you and I were talking about this. Dad life kind of changes your life, man. And a lot of things that used to be your time, like you don't have no more time.
Right.
And I got 2 daughters now, so it's a little bit harder to get that leisurely reading in. But it was a book I used to read and reread every year. But it would just remind me about the divine magic of thinking big and how when you want something badly enough, the universe conspires to make it happen for you. And I think every entrepreneur needs to be kind of infected with that sickness to a degree. And I mean that in a good way. Like that's a healthy sickness. Like be delusional, you know, go big, go for it, swing for the fences. And if you want it badly enough and if everything's aligned, it'll happen for you. And if not, the universe will show you quite abruptly sometimes, this ain't for you and you better pivot and do something else. But yeah, I would say that's the number one book that comes to mind when you say something like that.
When, are you familiar with the marketing software High Level?
Go High Level?
Go High Level?
Yes.
So we are a reseller. We're in the top resellers of High Level, and I consult probably just under 2,000 high-level agencies.
Okay.
And my vision is to aggregate a group of them and help them sell, and we'll sell out for $100 million bucks. So I own $100 million SaaS.com or 100mSaaS.com. I've declared this publicly to the CEO of High Level. I let him know what my game plan is. I put together a prospectus that tells them step by step how we're going to bring in high-level agencies together, consult with them, franchise our system, and then bring them all together to ultimately sell off to PE, private equity. What's your vision? Like, what you're thinking big? What are you working towards?
What I'm working towards now is growing our online community so that it's so big and creating so many opportunities of business startup, business involvement, business expansion, and scaling that it's ultimately just winning for everyone that's involved. I'm not even thinking about myself. I want to create environments and proximity for other people to get wins, because everything that's good that's happened to me has come by way of proximity, like being in the right room with the right people, meeting the right folks, shaking the right hand. And so I wanted to create an environment like that wasn't cost prohibitive or in a way that was financially discriminating. It's just what I'm most passionate about is creating that. So that's what I'm working towards, is the expansion, the furthering, the explosion, if you will, of my online community.
Tell me a little bit about the online community. What are the benefits? Who's in it? Why should people join?
Yeah, you know, it's called the LFG Society, and it came underneath my LFG brand. And, you know, you and I were joking a little bit after or before. I don't know if we were recording yet or if it was when we were speaking beforehand, but LFG stands for exactly what you think it stands for. I probably should have asked you earlier if it was okay to curse on this show.
Let's fucking go.
I've already dropped a few bombs, but there we go. Let's fucking go. So, and it's not my phrase. I mean, that's a phrase Tom Brady says. Like, everybody says it. But what would happen was when I would compete in martial arts, I would say it a lot to myself to get myself fired up. The same way you probably say it at the gym, like whatever. I mean, you're a fit guy, so I'm sure you use things and mantras to get yourself going. So that would be one for me. And then when I would coach, I would say it to the guys all the time, you know, let's fucking go, let's fucking go. And then I thought, you know what? I want to do something with that phrase one day. I don't know what. I'm like, what if I called it like LFG energy? That just came to me. Call it LFG energy. You know, that's the kind of energy I want to embody. Let's fucking go energy. So I said, okay. So I had a graphics designer just come up with a logo. I had no idea what I was going to do with it. And this will tell you, I mean, about just like taking risks and trusting yourself, this whole story of how it came to be. I had it written down. And then I had an event booked with Ryan Serhant that was coming up. And this was about 3 years ago. And we were set to have him come out to San Francisco. And he's the biggest brand in real estate. He was going to do an event for me. You know, I was paying him a lot of money. And I'd already sold tickets. We had launched the event. The website was live. We had already sold half the tickets in a very quick amount of time. I was financially backing this entire thing out of my own pocket, no sponsors. So just ticket sales and me. And I get a call from his team saying, shoot, you know what? We made a mistake. You know, he can't do anything that's in alignment or marketed alongside another financial entity or professional because I'm in mortgage. He says he has this exclusivity clause or contract with one of the biggest banks in the world, being in New York. So we can't do this with you. You know, do you have...
Was it, when you originally were speaking to him, was it positioned as a relationship with the mortgage, or was it like more positioned as a relationship with you?
With
was
me,
the community?
And as like a marketing event, right? Like how people in real estate can explode their brands, like take charge, right? I think the theme of the event, if I remember correctly, was betting on yourself. In a changing market, what are you going to do? You got to bet on you. And he's the embodiment of that. His personal story. I mean, he started a physical brokerage in the middle of COVID when everyone told him he was nuts. He said, no, I'm going to bet on me.
Yeah.
And it paid off. When everyone else said, this is the dumbest, craziest idea, he went for it. So he did it. So I thought, you know, who better to do this? And I was kind of obsessed with his vlogs at the time. And I had this just very strong like liking towards his brand and what he was doing and how he was different. And it kind of inspired me. So anyways, I panicked because these guys were like going to pull the deal. They're like, we're really sorry, we'll refund you the deposit. I'm thinking to myself like, fuck the deposit. I've already sold tickets. People are coming to this thing. They're flying in.
Yeah.
Like I already told everyone there's going to be a circus in my backyard. And if you guys don't show up, I'm going to look crazy.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm going to look, I'll lose all my credibility. I was about to, I remember that moment. I was like, oh my God, like I'm dead. Like it was going to be humiliating. And then the guy's like, do you have any other entity? And I had an S Corp and an LLC. I'm like, no, because they all had financial in them or capital. And it can't be anything that references it. And then I just looked down at that logo on my desk, LFG Energy, and the guy goes, you don't have anything? He was trying to be nice because he wanted to bail me out. I was like, dude, do you have anything else? Otherwise, we just have to cut this and maybe start over. Or maybe you get another friend, do it through someone else, whatever. Yeah. And I was like, as a matter of fact, I do. It's called LFG Energy Presents. I made it up in the moment. I literally made it up in the moment. The guy's like, what's that stand for? I go, what do you think it stands for? He goes, no problem here. We're good. We'll redo the contract. And LFG Energy was born. So LFG Energy became this kind of media idea. I didn't know what it was. At that time, it was just an event hosting platform. Like it was just, that was the host of the event. So I did a few other events, and underneath that came my podcast, the LFG Energy podcast, which is for entrepreneurs, all focused on resilience and beating the odds and the, you know, the art of the comeback, their own personal story of when they basically got off the mat and rose. And then I said, we can start a community as well. So the LFG Society came underneath that umbrella, and it's basically 2 years old now. I ended up launching it the next year as a private community. It's filled with entrepreneurs. It started off with a lot of real estate folks, but it's since evolved into creatives, marketers, athletes, college students. And I wanted to create an area of proximity that was similar to a mastermind, but not the cost of a mastermind, because masterminds can be expensive. And the way I would do that so that I wasn't competing with masterminds is that we would just be all online. We wouldn't meet in person. So that people didn't have to fly around the country to meet up or do these meetings and see all these speakers. But I would bring in athletes, well-known authors, thought leaders, Olympians, people with tremendous stories of courage and resilience and how they beat the odds to be our speakers. And we've had incredible speakers now for the last 2 years. And the community's built really nicely over these last few years with a lot of momentum. It's a nice online collaborative space where everyone feels seen, they feel heard, they get to exchange ideas. It's a think tank. But what's made me most proud of it is what's come of it by the way of the members. New businesses have started, new partnerships, new brands have been created because everyone in it is very like-minded. And one of the gates that I have of entry to get into this is you have to have something that you want to give. You have to have something that you want to provide to make everyone else better. Like, don't come in here on the take. Come in here as a giver. Like, what can you contribute, right? So everyone needs to think outside of themselves. But culturally, that's been, I think, a real catalyst for the group and made it very different. And it's been a lot of fun, man, in building it. And I'm excited to see.
How many members are in the group?
Just over 100.
And then what is your vision for the group? How many members do you envision?
I'd love to see that we get to several hundred, 500, 1,000. There's not really a limit on it. I'd love to, just see it explode because there's magic in numbers. There's power in numbers. Yeah. With more people, with more energy, with more transferring of ideas and all those synergies, you'll get more magic. I mean, just with the 100 we've had, so many amazing things have been created. So I can only imagine if I scaled that to 200, to 300, to 500, to 1,000, what more positive stuff could come from it.
Is there like a success story that inspires you or excites you from the community?
Yeah, there's one in particular. It was early, actually, because I knew the guy and he was at a crossroads in his life. Professionally, he had just had a child too. He was working with a pretty steady paycheck job in Arizona, working in the title business. He worked for a title company, and his wife was a stay-at-home mom. So they were living kind of lean, but they were happy and fine. But he knew that there was something more for him. And he said when he joined this group and all of the mantras of betting on yourself and taking that chance and that you're one handshake away, one risk away, he said something went off in him to just go for it. So he went and started a digital media company with no customers, nothing.
That's a completely different industry compared to title.
Yeah, totally. But he had a passion for marketing because he worked as a marketing rep within title.
Okay.
But he wanted to do it in the digital space.
Yeah.
He didn't know what he was doing. He had no clients, nothing. He literally just jumped and started it. And his wife backed him up, which, God bless her, because that takes a very supportive spouse to say, you're going to turn in the guaranteed paycheck for something that we don't even know, and we got a baby?
Yeah.
Are you nuts? Like, my wife wouldn't have gone for it. I don't know if your wife would have, but his did.
Yeah,
so
that's pretty wild.
It is pretty wild. But he's made, like in the 1 year, the company's exploded. And he just believes in himself, and it's got this magnetic energy around it that's drawn people in. And I'm really proud of him. I talk to him all the time, and he'll always say, man, he's like, joining this group was what kind of gave me the courage to go do it, and I don't want to take any credit for it in that sense. It's just something he says, but what I'll say is that it's a big cultural tenet of our group is like, bet on yourself, take that chance.
Why not take credit for it?
Life is, dude, life is so short, and we don't know. I always tell every entrepreneur in the group on the calls, you have to embrace everything with a sense of finality. Like, shit's gonna end. Some of us, it might end abruptly. We don't even know. So what are you waiting for? And I know it sounds cliche and people have heard that a million times different ways, but really, what are you waiting for? And he says that's really stuck with him. And so he just jumped, and it's one of many success stories, but I'm really, really proud of the guy.
One of the things I mentioned, like, why not take credit for it? I think if you are creating this community and you are giving that level of outcomes and outputs into people's lives, and you are a testament of the journey, if you're a few chapters ahead, man, help someone else.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you saying that, man. But yeah, that's what keeps me going and what makes me really excited about the future with this group. And like I said, it's one of many stories. There's been so many along the way, and I know we're going to have so many more.
What do people not know about you?
That I, to a fault, just will fill everyone else's cup before I fill my own. And then they tend to worry about me. My mom especially always is the one to point this out because everyone's mom knows them better than everyone else knows them, right? But my mom will point this out to me. You're pouring into everyone so much. Like, when do you let anyone ever take care of you? And people look at me and sometimes think he's got it all together. He's got all this. But no, I'm a human being that puts on his pants the same way everybody else does. Like, I struggle. 2 days ago, I ran out of gas, bro. Andy, I'm driving to work. I ran out of gas. My car was like kind of stuck in a not so great neighborhood in San Francisco. I was like, how does this happen to me? My car couldn't even be parked. I just pulled it into a parking lot and it stopped.
Oh my gosh.
So I had to get out of the car, walk 4 or 5 blocks, not good neighborhood, fill up one of those like gas containers, walk with it back, and I filmed it. I was like, you think you have, your day's going a certain way, and then you get derailed, but it doesn't mean I'm gonna have a bad day. This was just a challenging 20 minutes, right? That's all it is. But it's that kind of perspective.
That's a powerful perspective, by the way, because I know people who would have
said, my day's ruined.
My day's ruined.
My day's fucked. Like,
Hit
when you
the
get
window,
home, totally.
Yards,
and then, but look, it's 20 minutes. I still have a lot of other minutes to turn this around, and it's not an indictment. And I think that, just as a human lesson, not to pivot here, but I think that's something we all can like try and adopt, because for everyone, and I heard a great speaker say this, Jason Redman. He's was a proud member of our armed forces, served this country, nearly died in a very well-known explosion while serving in Iraq. And now he's well-known and he speaks all over the country about it. But he says, dude, in your lifetime, you'll probably have anywhere between 3 and 5 really bad days. That's it. That's it. The death of someone, something really catastrophic will happen. But he's like, most people, at least once a week, they're telling someone, I had a bad day. He's like, did you really? Or was it a bad 5 minutes? Yeah. Was it a bad 20 minutes? And was it even really that bad? Was it just challenging if you isolate it on its own? And in my case, right, like, I'm not that special, but I'm just using this as an example. Yes, my car ran out of gas on a busy morning on my way to the office. I got a lot of shit to do. I had a full day. I had to cancel my first Zoom meeting, but that's okay. We rescheduled it. It was 20 minutes. Things could have been much worse. I could have gotten in an accident. I could have gotten hurt. I was still able to go, and it actually ended up being a pretty decent day. Like, from a productivity standpoint, right? As an entrepreneur, I got a lot of things done. I had a few breakthroughs, met some new people, but I ran out of gas that morning. But I didn't let it really bother me. And I think for a lot of people, to bring it full circle back to your question, what they don't know about me is that, to a fault, I like to pour into other people and care about other people and always kind of like have that perspective. And they think, well, he never has a bad day or he never goes through any challenges. And they don't know that about me. But I do, just like everybody else. I just happen to look at it through a different lens. I try and make it very temporary and not an indictment on me or, the sum of the entire day. But also, I need to be better about, filling my cup as well from time to time.
And how are you doing that?
Through family first. I think we look so many times we look outside of what's actually right there in front of us that should be your greatest sense. So through family, because whenever I come home to it, and again, it sounds...
Your kids and your wife?
Yeah, my children and my wife. My 2 daughters, like, they don't care how tired I am. My daughters, right? When I walk through the door, they don't care that I ran out of gas. They don't even need to know, right? I told my 6-year-old, but she doesn't get it.
Yeah.
Because she rides around with her mom, who drives an electric car most of the time. Like, they don't even stop at a gas station. She doesn't even know, but I still drive a car that requires gas. I'm old school like that, I guess. But yeah, my children definitely do that for me. My daughters both do, because it's a reminder of how innocent life is and how it's so divine. Like, if you just want something, you do it, or you laugh at this, or you do that, and the other shit doesn't matter. So that's where I feel it, and I don't really need to look much further than that. It kind of centers me.
What do you want your daughters to remember you as?
Just as a kind human being. That's it. I don't care how much. I don't give a shit how many zeros there were or weren't in my bank account, or what he may have been known for. Did he write a book? Was he famous? Did he do this or that? The only word that I care that both of my daughters remember their father by when he passes on is that he was kind. That's it. If they have that embedded in their head, then I did my job as a servant of this world, of this universe, of this space.
The viewer who's watching this, who may be at a stage where you were at 17 years ago, where they're like, man, I'm ready to quit this game, whatever game that they're in. It could be in the same industry that you're in. It could be another industry, or it could be life. Yeah. What do you have to say to that person?
Number one, be kind to yourself. Recognize that whatever's going on is not an indictment on who you are as a human being. Most of it is stuff that we're just taking personal, but it has nothing to actually do with us. It's the external that's affecting us, the rejection, the closed doors, the lack of opportunities, the lost deals. It's not anything against you personal, but we're human, so we feel it, and we want to personalize. And that's what I was doing in that moment when I was ready to quit. I personalized all the rejection that happened on that very day and said, this must be the universe telling me that I suck, that I'm not good enough, that I'm not worthy of anything. And we have to be kinder to ourselves and recognize, no, there's a separation here. And the second thing is restore or remind yourself of the belief in what it is that you do and why you're doing it. If you believe you're a good man, if you believe you're a good father, a good husband, a good provider, a good member of their community, a good member of your church, a good servant of God, the universe, whatever it is that you believe in, and you believe that to your core, you're always going to be okay. And you don't have to let, whatever the external is that's affecting you, you'll just develop a little bit more armor and thicker skin of just knowing that that stuff isn't telling the whole story. I know I'm good here, and this will take care of itself. So for those that are facing that kind of doubt or that kind of a dark moment of feeling like they're going to quit, be kind to yourself. Restore that belief in who it is you are. And if you need to take some time to do that and look in the mirror and have some harder conversations or talk to your brothers, your sisters, people in your community, your church, whatever it is, do it. But do whatever you have to do so that you have unshakable belief in yourself. Because if there's one thing I've noticed, at least around high-level athletes, and I can speak to this in the 3 world championships that I competed in, 2007, 2012, and 2014. I lost the one in the middle. But I will tell you, all 3 of them, I remember it like yesterday, getting up that morning, my routine, getting on the team bus with all the other members of Team USA, going to the venue, warming up, going into the ring, regardless of whether I won or lost. Results aside, I had 100% belief in myself that I was the best in the world that day and that no one was going to beat me. Sometimes the universe or God has another plan for us and it doesn't go according to plan. And maybe that's what you're going through as someone who's facing something right now, or you're questioning whether or not you should quit or keep going. But, it's a chapter in your story. It's a comma, not a period, I like to say. It's just part of the bigger thing. But you have to have that belief, because as long as you have that belief, you're going to be okay and you'll be able to get up to live and live to fight another day.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
If you found this episode to be tremendously valuable, be sure to like this video, subscribe, and let Arjun know what you found to be most valuable in the comment box. Without further ado, be sure to subscribe to this channel, because we're going to be dropping nuggets and content just like this every single week. I'll see you on the next episode.